Confusing is a word often used to describe this movie, one so common that I want to address it right away. First of all, it's true, and it's especially true when watching this film for the first time. Kim Jee-woon, the director and screenwriter of this film, admits this. In fact, he notes that it was intentional. Let's hear what he has to say in response to the critics.
공통적으로 비평의 대상이 되었던 부분들은 이제 플롯의 혼란함 또는 어떤 내러티브의 빈약함이라는 얘기를 많이 하는데, 플롯이라는 것은 이야기의 구조를 얘기하는 것이고, 또 이 영화는 기억의 어떤 기억에 의해서 이루어지는 어떤 공포와 혼란을 얘기를 하는 것이기 때문에, 그런 역순 구조의 어떤 드라마라든가 또는 마치 그 인물 자체, 그 주인공 자체가 어떤 망상극에 빠진 것처럼, 가면놀이를 하는 것처럼 관객들도 그거와 동참시키려는 어떤 욕구가 있었던 것이었고, 그래서 계속 그 내러티브나 플롯의 혼란을 주었던 것이고, 그것이 이 기억에 관한 기억의 공포와 혼란을 다룬 이 영화에 가장 맞는 플롯이라고 생각이 들었기 때문에 그렇게 얘기를 했는데, 그러니까 내가 보기에는 평론가들이 예를 들면은 조금 연출된 세계를 보는 것보다는 스토리 라인 또는 스토리 비평에 더 이렇게 집중하지 않는가, 이런 생각이 좀 들더라고요. 그런 의미에서 너무 평론가들이 어떤 내러티브나 스토리 라인만, 그래서 거기에서 얻어지는 어떠한 결과물, 어떤 의미의 확장성, 이런 거에만 국한되어 있는 것이 아닌가.
So, this confusion isn't merely the result of clumsy storytelling, but the side effect of a very deliberate plot device. Now, one may argue that this technique is not effective, but that is beside the point being that it was not the result of an impaired script. This film is about Su-mi, and in Kim Jee-woon's own words, it is the story of her mind. Isn't it true that Su-mi and her family would be confused and distraught during her ordeals? And if the audience vicariously experiences the same mental state of the characters, doesn't this mean the intention of the film has been effectively communicated to the audience? This could easily be mistaken for a carelessly crafted narrative if one does not understand the film's intentions. And this is what I will argue, that it is possible to understand this film even on one's first viewing, if the viewer is astute enough, even amidst its confusion. So let's pretend we're watching A Tale of Two Sisters for the first time. The film begins with a mystery. Who is this young woman? What's happened to her? What led her to the withdrawn and despondent state that she's in? This scene establishes the questions that the viewer will seek to answer as the film progresses. We're given our first hint, a few puzzle pieces, if you will, that we must take with us on our journey into Su-mi's mind. All we know at this point is that it was something fundamentally life-altering. Notice the questions that the doctor asks. He begins by asking questions to make the woman, who we don't yet know as Su-mi, feel comfortable enough to open up. But he immediately proceeds to get to the point. Before taking a long pause, he asks,
자신이 누구라고 생각해?
Out of all the questions he asks, this one stands out. His others are about memory, but this one is about identity. Prologues are important. They tell us something about the rest of a narrative, so we must keep this question in mind. Who does she think she is? This mystery is upheld as we are taken back to Su-mi's past. Notice how the music shifts as Kim Jee-woon points out, from a cheery waltz to something more somber as the two sisters get out of the car. There's something sorrowful about them, but we don't yet know why. We must also keep in mind the places that Su-mi looks around the house. Why these places in particular? When the two sisters are at the wharf, Su-mi reads something tragic in Soo-yeon's palms. I admit that I did not get this scene on my first viewing. Palm reading would have to be something familiar to the viewer in their own cultural and social context to catch this. Either way, all we know at this point is that something happened, or will happen to Su-yeon, but not yet what it is. There is a very subtle but important hint that is given while the sisters are speaking to Eun-ju after entering the house. The viewer might even mistake it for a continuity error. Let's see if you notice it.
너 왜 놀래니? 너 건강해졌구나. 네가 건강해져서 난 너무 기뻐. 너 점점 엄마 닮아간다. 수미 너도 많이 나아진 거지?
Eun-ju is speaking to Su-yeon and her eyes are facing Su-yeon, but the film suddenly cuts to a close-up shot of Su-mi with a blank expression. As a result, the identity of who Eun-ju is speaking to is confused. Directly after the scene, Su-mi and Su-yeon walk together up the stairs, but Su-yeon suddenly vanishes from the audience's perspective. This seems rather strange. Remember this. The first thing that is noticeable about this scene is the identical notebooks and clothes, but even more important is the fact that Eun-ju experiences the exact same thing in the very next scene. There is a peculiar continuity between Su-mi and Eun-ju's experiences and existences. Now, who is Mu-hyeon speaking to on the phone? There are a few conclusions we can come to. First, he speaks informally and personally with them, so it's either someone younger than him and or someone he is close with. Secondly, he speaks with them about Sun-kyu and his wife, either friends or relatives, so this person must be someone very close with the family. Lastly, he says,
내려온다고 해결될 수 있는 문제가 아니야.
So this has to be someone who either lives at or visits their home on a personal basis.
아 정말 이번 주말에 성규랑 성기철 불러서 저녁 같이 먹기로 했어요.
Why would Eun-ju be speaking to Mu-hyeon about Sun-kyu and his wife coming over if he already knows that? This, again, seems strange.
아빠 내일 네가 갖다 놓은 거니? 그런 거 내가 해도 돼. 내 일인 것 같아.
The continuity we saw in previous scenes is now verbalized between Eun-ju and Su-mi, but they are both genuinely confused, as we saw in the previous scenes, about their own clothes situations. So, who could have touched each other's clothes? 2 pills for Eun-ju.
내가 자꾸 이제 찍으면서도 그랬죠. 이제 약을 줄 때 여럿이 앉아 있을 때 약을 줄 때 누구한테 줘야 되는가. 그러니까 한 테이블에 수미가 앉아 있고 새엄마가 앉아 있고 수연이 앉아 있을 때 수연은 어차피 죽은 인물이니까 나한테는 보이지 않는 인물이니까 새엄마하고 수미가 앉아 있다라고 봤을 때 지금 누구한테 약을 주는 것이 가장 적절한가 사실은.
김갑 선배님이 나오는 씬 안에서 은주와 새엄마와 수미가 있으면은 기본적으로 은주한테
그렇죠.
대하는 이제 그렇게 제가 이제 주문을 했던 것 같아요.
There's a plethora of information given in this dream sequence. A girl, a woman, blood, a falling wardrobe, and the words that Su-mi whispers. We know that something tragic happened to Su-yeon. Could this be related to it? Eun-ju, Su-yeon, and Su-mi all have their period on the same day. This further solidifies the continuity between Eun-ju and Su-mi's characters and introduces one between Su-mi and Su-yeon. Su-mi refuses that she had her period, but this scene indicates otherwise.
수미야,
When Mu-hyeon enters the whistling scene, Su-yeon is suddenly cut out of the shot and Mu-hyeon says nothing to her or about her. Talk of the wardrobe is also given particular attention.
수연이 방 옷장이나 좀 치워줘.
수미야, 그 옷장 얘긴 안 하기로 했잖아. 약속했었지?
What instigated Su-mi to look back? After Mu-hyeon comes out of the bathroom, Eun-ju has mysteriously vanished. After the botched dinner, Mu-hyeon just tells Eun-ju,
들어가.
2 pills for Eun-ju on day 2. After Mu-hyeon reveals that Su-yeon is dead, Su-yeon never visually appears again except in flashbacks. This flashback really puts everything we know about Su-yeon together, right after we see that Su-yeon's door is nailed shut. Su-mi momentarily re-enters reality and we see her true identity. She has been the one taking the pills. She was the one beating the sack. Su-mi's hand is gashed, not Eun-ju's. After the reveal, Su-mi takes the 2 pills on the 3rd and last day. If there is any doubt whether Su-mi was acting as Eun-ju throughout the entirety of the narrative, it can be assured by noting that 1. Su-mi was actually the one taking the pills all along, and 2. It can now be confirmed that Mu-hyeon was talking to the real Eun-ju on the phone, so she wasn't there from the very beginning. The hospital scene near the end acts as a false reprise. As Kim Jee-woon points out, Eun-ju's dialogue gives the narrative a false sense of conclusion. Su-mi grasps her hand. She's not finished yet. She has another mystery. Now we know why Su-mi looked toward the swings at the beginning, and later, the doors where Eun-ju stood. We did not understand the significance of the places Su-mi looked at the beginning, and neither did she. We went on this journey with her. The clock behind Su-mi is emphasized both audibly and visually. And now we understand Su-mi's obsession with time, as Kim Jee-woon put it at the beginning of the film. In Kim Jee-woon's own words, we could say we made the movie just to show this shot.